All right, so we're talking about our revolved head to knee pose today. It's our Transition Tuesday in action. We had some awesome comments come in. This is such a great pose because I feel a revolved head to knee pose can either be used as a yin pose, it can be used as a cool down pose at the end of a practice, it could also be used at the beginning of the practice, and I've even thrown it into my main flows as like an active rest. So if I'm doing something that's like really heavy on the legs, then just drop them down into a pose like this and then get them back up and going for the other side. So it's such a versatile pose that I feel like it can really be incorporated anywhere as long as it's intelligently placed into your sequence. So let's take a look at some of the comments that came through, and then I'll share some of my own. You guys had such amazing comments. I'm like, I don't know if I'd really think of anything more to add to what came through. So I just have a couple to share in addition to what you guys had added. All right, so let me make sure you can still see me. Oh, I'm all right, good. Okay, so Stephanie Farver had said to rainbow over to a modified side plank and then flow between the two for a few breaths. And then she had this whole sequence going into a down dog. So we think about revolved head to knee pose. So it's a variation to Janusarsasana. So we create this figure 4 with our legs, and for Janusarsasana A, that's my dog, say hi to Yum. You fold forward in here. Now for a revolved head to knee pose, we revolve open, right? So we're rotating our chest up to the sky and we're in this position here. Now Stephanie had said to go from revolved head to knee into a modified side plank. So you can take your top arm and maybe sweep it across, plant your palms to the earth and lift up into a modified side plank. And then she said to flow through the two a couple times. So maybe you come back this way and then reach up and over. Oh, that feels really nice on my sides and up. And then she said to pause here, melt your heart towards the earth to come into like a three-legged tabletop position, and to reach your leg up to the sky for a three-legged down dog. And then she said you could do like some circles or lots of variations. You could even come into like a plank position with your knee to your shoulder and up, and then release. And then so if you wanted to just move into the other side, you could just lower knee down and come back to this position and maybe have your students do one more little stretch and then switch to the other side. So we did a revolved head to knee pose, plant your hand, lift up into modified plank, flow through that a couple times. Oh, that feels so nice. And then rotate to three-legged tabletop, lift up, and then any kind of variation you would like from there. So what a great little sequence. Thank you for sharing that, Stephanie. That's something you could do like at the beginning of class during warm-up. You're just getting your students kind of getting them going, and then you want to transition to down dog. Well, usually how we transition to down dog that I see a lot of teachers do is, you come to hands and knees, you do some cat-cow flows, and then you press to your down dog. So what a different way to get your students into a downward facing dog at the beginning of class. So great transitions. All right, that was from Stephanie. And Rachel had said, I always follow the stretch with a modified wild thing. So I think, if I'm thinking correctly, Rachel, you'll have to just, add a comment if it was something different. If you're here to come into a modified wild thing, be to keep the knee down kind of like the modified side plank, and maybe like just open here into a variation of it, modified wild thing. So if we think about wild thing, it's, we're like this, right? This. So maybe I was doing the wrong hand, so let's try that again. So come here, hand comes behind, and then you could lift up into wild thing. Oh, there we go. So that works out well. You're here in revolved head to knee, so you'd have to come up, other hand comes behind, and lift up into wild thing, and lower down, and then you could take the same thing on the opposite side. Come here, and comes behind, plunge your foot to the earth, and lift up into wild thing, and come down. So, I really like that. Thank you, Rachel, for sharing that. Give it a try and let us know how it feels for you. So Kil had said to go from fallen triangle, lower the hips, and sit so that the legs make an L shape, then bend one leg in for your Janusirsasana, and then transition to the Revolved version. She said blocks are great. So fallen triangle, I usually get into fallen triangle from a down dog. Keep the leg through, lift up into your fallen triangle, and then you lower your hips down. And so she was talking about the L position here, bend one leg in, and take your revolved head to knee, and come up. And then you could even exit out the same way you came in. So come back to your L, lift up, plant your palms, send your leg back. Maybe you just come to a plank pose, and then down dog, come to plank, take it on the other side. Up for your fallen triangle, lower down, and then do the opposite side, and come up, come back to this position, lift up into your fallen triangle, and come back. So, nice little sequence. I love how you guys are like putting together little sequences, and rather than just, like a bunch of transitions you could do, because it's nice to see how things can all kind of flow together. So these are so great. And then there was one more, so thank you, Sakil, for that one, from Jillian, and she said, I like to roll out of the pigeon into Janusirsasana. Yeah, this is a nice one. And she made the comment about doing this in a yin class. So if you think of, our half pigeon pose, and if you're in yin, I think some people refer to it as like a sleeping swan, where you come down like this. And so to come up, turn to the side, and reach over into your revolved head to knee pose is pretty nice. And then you could just come back and then maybe extend out of it to give that leg a little break, and then take it on the other side. So you come into pigeon, roll to the side, revolved head to knee pose, come up, and then you could come back and exit out the same way you came in. So what a great transition. Thank you, Jillian, for that one. So those are all such fantastic transitions. I can't wait to add some of those into my classes, especially Stephanie's. Now, some of the transitions that can just add to the ones that were already covered is you could even go from like a Baddha Konasana pose here, and you could even do this like in a yin class. So let's say you have them in Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose, bound angle pose. I think it's also called cobbler pose. Lots of names for this one. You could just extend one leg out and have them reach right over, so you don't even have to go through Janusirsasana A. You can just have them go right into Parvita Janusirsasana here, and then maybe bring the leg here, and then you take a variation of your butterfly pose. So maybe the first time you're folding forward, and then maybe this time you just take a moment to pause with a straight back, and then move into the other side here, and then come up. So that would be a nice sequence for yin, and then you can even come back through balanced angle and have your students reflect how they feel now from the first time you did bound angle, because now you've done all of these stretches for a good amount of time in a yin class, and then just ask them to discover and explore how the bound angle pose feels after those poses. So that could be something you could do as a transition from the revolved head to knee pose. You could also go from like a double pigeon. So let me go this way on my mat. Go this way. So if you're here in double pigeon, also known as fire log, and you're really working on the outer thighs. So this is a really intense stretch. Like I'm really feeling this right now. It could be nice to come up and just like open up to the side and like, oh, yeah, that's really nice. And then you could have them turn the other way on their mats and take the other side here. And then you could open up and take the other side for your revolved head to knee pose. So that could be a really nice transition again for a yin practice, or even as like a cool down at the end of your practice, especially if your focus might have been on outer thighs, or maybe some type of like emotional release, since we tend to hold a lot of emotions in our hips. If that is your theme for your class, that could be a nice option to do. And those were really just the only two that I had to add, because you guys had such great transitions come in. And if you think of this pose, any type of seated position you're in could work. So even if you were in like a Marichiasana C, if you were here and you wanted to very mindfully move into the revolved head to knee, because you're in a deep twist here, you just have to be gentle to then have them open up. But that could be a nice transition to do as well. All right, so that's what I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed the transitions. All right, everyone, have a fantastic weekend. Love and light. Bye.